Here's the thing, Peter.
Yeah.
You're stepping over a line now. You're stepping over a line, you know you are.
I will take responsibility for this. It was my mistake. It was on the call.
I change up.
Keep my wife's name out mouth.
I'm going.
Fame is fleeting. One wrong move, one poorly chosen word, one televised outburst, and years of work can vanish in an instant. These aren't private scandals or tabloid rumors. These are public unravelings, captured live on camera, where the world watched careers collapse in real time. In this video, we examine 20 high-profile figures whose actions, whether intentional or impulsive, brought their careers to a screeching halt. Some were icons in their industries, others were rising stars. But each had a moment, preserved on video, that turned admiration into outrage, and applause into silence. From controversial interviews to live broadcasts that sparked global backlash, this is a definitive look at how reputation, once damaged on screen, rarely recovers. These are the on-camera moments that studios couldn't defend, that sponsors pulled away from, and that fans never forgot. The footage exists. The fallout was real. And for these 20 celebrities, the spotlight never looked the same again. 20. Vanilla Ice. Back in 1990, Vanilla Ice was on top of the world. Ice Ice Baby was a cultural earthquake. The guy went from unknown to superstardom almost overnight. But that glitter didn't last long. After a few flops and failed attempts to chase that original success, his music career started slipping fast. And then, in 1999, things took a sharp left turn. Invited him onto a special called 25 Lame, a show where comedians roasted the worst music videos ever made. The vibe was lighthearted. The idea was to laugh, cringe, and move on. But Vanilla Ice brought, well, not jokes, not vibes. He brought destruction. Instead of laughing off his own outdated music video, he was handed a baseball bat. The plan was to smash the Ice Ice Baby VHS tape for a few laughs, but he went full wrecking ball. He didn't just smash the tape. He destroyed the entire set like it owed him money. Tables went flying, props shattered, and for a second it looked like he might take a swing at Jon Stewart, the host. The audience didn't laugh. The hosts didn't either. What was supposed to be a goofy, self-aware moment turned into a cringe spiral of rage. Instead of showing he could laugh at himself, Vanilla Ice came off as bitter, angry, and completely out of control. And that moment, it pretty much sealed his fate. But Vanilla Ice wasn't the only comedian who ended up in hot water after a public meltdown. Martin Lawrence's disastrous SNL debut went down in history for all the wrong reasons. Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence was a comedic powerhouse in the 1990s, loud, bold, and completely unfiltered. By 1994, he was already a household name, thanks to his hit show Martin and a string of successful stand-up specials. So, when Saturday Night Live invited him to host, it seemed like the next natural step. Hosting SNL is the kind of gig that solidifies you as a pop culture icon, a badge of honor in the comedy world. But for Martin, it didn't quite go as planned. Instead of a career high, his SNL debut became a full-blown disaster. What should have been a night of laughs turned into one of the most infamous moments in the show's history. During his opening monologue, Martin decided to go all in on the shock factor. And, well, he went way in. His jokes about women's personal hygiene weren't just crude. They were uncomfortably graphic and explicit. Instead of getting laughs, he managed to make both the audience and network executives squirm. It was flat-out vulgar.
By the time he wrapped up, NBC had basically thrown up their hands and said, "Never again."
The backlash was immediate. NBC scrubbed the monologue from all reruns and released a disclaimer in its place. Martin Lawrence was permanently banned from Saturday Night Live, and unlike others who've stirred controversy on the show, he never got a second shot. For comparison, comedians like Chris Rock or Eddie Murphy, who also pushed boundaries, eventually found their way back into SNL's good graces. But Martin, though, he's still on the blacklist. Belle Gibson. Belle Gibson was once the poster child of the wellness world. Young, vibrant, and seemingly full of wisdom about clean eating, natural living, and the power of self-healing. In 2013, she skyrocketed to fame after launching the Whole Pantry app, a slick, Instagram-perfect guide to healthy living that quickly gained traction. She followed it up with a cookbook and built a loyal fan base who believed in her brand, and more importantly, her story. That story? It was dramatic and heartbreaking. Belle claimed she had been diagnosed with multiple forms of cancer, including terminal brain cancer. But instead of following conventional treatment, she said she was healing herself through nutrition, alternative medicine, and sheer willpower. Her followers were in awe. But beneath the smoothies and smiling selfies, things were not what they seemed. By 2015, cracks started to form. Journalists and skeptics began asking questions. Medical records didn't line up. There were no confirmations of any cancer diagnosis. People who had once admired her started digging deeper. And what they found was disturbing. Not only had Belle Gibson allegedly faked her cancer diagnosis, but she had also promised to donate profits from her app and book sales to various charities. Investigations revealed that many of those donations never materialized. In one particularly damning interview with the Australian Women's Weekly, she finally confessed. None of her cancer claims were true. Her explanation? A troubled childhood and a desire to be liked. But for many, the apology came too late. Her fall from grace was swift and brutal. Overnight, she went from wellness warrior to one of the most infamous frauds in influencer history. Her app was pulled, her book was recalled, and public trust in wellness influencers took a serious hit. In 2017, an Australian court found her guilty of misleading consumers and fined her $410,000. To this day, she has not paid the full amount. Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson found himself at the center of a major controversy in 2019 after an interview where he shared a deeply personal and unsettling story. While promoting a film about revenge, he revealed that decades earlier, after someone close to him was indecently assaulted, he was consumed by rage. He admitted to walking the streets, hoping to confront a random black man to take out his anger through violence. Neeson acknowledged that his thoughts at the time were deeply wrong, and he felt ashamed looking back. The public backlash was immediate. Many accused him of racism, arguing that even having such thoughts, regardless of regret, was unacceptable. Some, including Trevor Noah and Whoopi Goldberg, defended him, stating that his honesty about confronting his past was commendable, even if uncomfortable. However, the public response remained divided. For many fans, this moment became difficult to separate from his roles, especially when he played characters seeking justice. The controversy cast a long shadow over his career. While some appreciated his candor, others found it hard to overlook the implications of his confession. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf's rise from Disney star to indie actor was full of talent and chaos. With blockbusters like Transformers and Indiana Jones, he looked set for long-term success. His 2019 film Honey Boy, based on his troubled childhood, showed raw honesty and earned critical praise. For a moment, it looked like he had turned a corner. But in 2020, everything changed. Musician and ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs sued him for assault, emotional abuse, and knowingly transmitting an STD. Other exes shared similar stories, suggesting a pattern of disturbing behavior. At first, LaBeouf denied most of it, but in a 2022 interview, he admitted, "I hurt that woman," acknowledging harm to others as well. Even before the lawsuit, he had been removed from Olivia Wilde's Don't Worry Darling, with Wilde citing his combative energy. LaBeouf said he quit, but the drama only added to growing public unease. Since then, his screen time has nearly vanished. He starred in the low-profile Padre Pio and recently appeared in Megalopolis. But even that release coincides with his upcoming trial this fall. So here's another question for you. If Megalopolis becomes a surprise hit, does that change anything for LaBeouf? Can artistic achievement outshine personal scandal? For LaBeouf, a true comeback seems unlikely. His past behavior overshadows his talent, and in today's culture of accountability, that might be a spotlight he never gets back. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has always been a top-tier Hollywood star. Charming, bankable, and the face of blockbuster hits. But in the early 2000s, cracks started to show, and a few intense interviews changed how people saw him. One moment that raised eyebrows was his interview with Australian journalist Peter Overton. At first, Cruz was calm, even friendly. But when Overton asked more about Nicole Kidman, Cruz snapped and warned him to back off with the now famous line, "Put your manners back in." The sudden shift in tone was jarring and left viewers surprised by how quickly he went from cool to confrontational. Then came the Oprah couch moment in 2005. Instead of a regular interview, Cruz jumped on the couch, grabbed Oprah's hands, and shouted about his love for Katie Holmes. It was over the top, even for TV, and the public reaction was mixed, amused, confused, and a little concerned. That moment went viral before going viral was even a thing, and it turned Cruz into more of a pop culture punchline. After these back-to-back moments, people started to see Cruz less as a polished movie star, and more as someone a little unpredictable. To be fair, Cruz has since tried to rebuild his image by becoming the face of cinematic adrenaline. Top Gun, Maverick, and other big action roles, he reminded the world why he's still a major force in Hollywood. But for a stretch of time in the early 2000s, Tom Cruise was the headline, and not always in a good way. DaBaby. DaBaby's rise was fast and full of promise. His 2019 hit, Suge, stood out in a sea of similar-sounding rap, and Rockstar with Roddy Ricch ruled the charts for weeks. He had hits, charisma, and momentum, everything a rising star needed. But in 2021, he threw it all away with one unprovoked rant at Rolling Loud. His comments about HIV and the LGBTQ+ community were offensive. The internet immediately exploded, and the backlash was swift and brutal. Instead of apologizing or learning from the situation, DaBaby tried to fix things by making them worse. He went on Instagram, called himself the best live performer, and somehow tried to drag his gay fans into it as a defense. His attempt to sound enlightened came off like a joke, and not the funny kind. Naturally, it just made everything worse. He did eventually post an apology to the LGBTQ+ community, but it felt more like a PR move than sincerity. Soon after, he claimed his comments were misunderstood and blamed 5-second clips for the confusion. Maybe because what he said didn't make sense in the first place. Then came the fallout. He was dropped from major festival lineups in 2021, and fans quickly turned on him. At one show, he was booed and had garbage thrown at him. Collaborators distanced themselves, and he even claimed to have lost $30 million in bookings because of the controversy. And the drama didn't stop there. He got into fights, had a meltdown with the mother of his child, and even tried to kiss a fan without consent. His ticket sales plummeted. At one show, he allegedly sold just 500 tickets in a 14,000-seat venue. To put that in perspective, that's like performing for your high school reunion in an arena. Ashlee Simpson. Ashlee Simpson's rise to fame was quick, flashy, and kind of doomed from the start. As Jessica Simpson's younger sister, she got a big break from MTV with The Ashlee Simpson Show, which aired right after Newlyweds, Nick and Jessica. Ashlee didn't want to be just Jessica's little sister. She went brunette, adopted a pop-punk style, and built an image that said, "I'm different." And for a while, it worked. Her debut single, Pieces of Me, became a huge hit, reaching number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Her first album sold nearly 400,000 copies in its first week, even more than Jessica's debut. The underdog was on top, until it all fell apart. But then came the infamous 2004 SNL performance. Her backing track played early, exposing that she was lip-syncing. Instead of recovering, she panicked, did a strange little jig, and walked off stage. She later blamed her band, and that didn't help. Instead of support, the internet and media came after her hard. Late-night hosts made fun of her. News outlets treated it like a major scandal. And she was only 19. Ironically, something like that wouldn't even cause a stir today. Many pop stars lip-sync now, and fans don't seem to mind. Ashlee tried to make a comeback. Her second album had moderate success, and her 2005 single Boyfriend gave her a short-lived boost. But the damage was done. Her music career faded before it could fully grow. In the 2010s, she stayed somewhat in the spotlight through TV, celebrity relationships, and social media. But she could never fully escape that one embarrassing moment. 12. Will Smith. The Oscars turned into live TV chaos the moment Will Smith walked on stage and slapped Chris Rock. A moment so unexpected, it felt like a scene ripped out of an action movie. The tension began when Rock made a joke comparing Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head to G.I. Jane. Jada, who has alopecia, clearly didn't find it funny. Will at first laughed along, but just seconds later something snapped. He marched up, slapped Rock across the face, and shouted from his seat, telling him to keep Jada's name out of his mouth, twice, loud and clear. The energy in the room dropped faster than a mic. Rock looked genuinely stunned, but somehow managed to keep the show rolling, while the internet basically exploded. Everyone had an opinion. Will did go on to win Best Actor that night, but by then, no one was talking about the trophy, only the slap. The fallout was brutal. The Academy banned Smith for 10 years, and many of his Hollywood peers either went quiet or distanced themselves entirely. Several of his upcoming projects were paused or quietly shelved, and public trust took a nosedive. CeeLo Green. If the name CeeLo Green doesn't ring a bell, his music probably does. His hit Crazy with Gnarls Barkley was everywhere in 2006, hitting number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and staying on the charts for 29 weeks. His voice was one of a kind, raw, funky, and full of character. CeeLo was all over TV too, from judging The Voice to award shows and animated films. But his career quickly collapsed, not just because of legal trouble, but because of what he said after. In 2012, a woman accused him of sedating her during dinner. She later told police she woke up naked in her hotel room with no memory. CeeLo admitted to using MDMA but denied sedating or assaulting her. The assault charge was dropped, but he got 3 years probation for illegal substance possession. That could have been the end of it, until he tweeted something that made everything worse. He suggested that if someone's unconscious, they can't say yes or no. So is it even assault? He deleted the tweets later, but the damage was already done. He quit The Voice, lost bookings, had his show canceled, and his career went silent overnight. But CeeLo Green's downfall wasn't the only shocking celebrity fall from grace. Allison Mack, once a beloved TV star, took a much darker path. Allison Mack. Allison Mack was once a rising star, best known for playing Chloe Sullivan on Smallville, one of the most iconic teen shows of the early 2000s. While she never quite reached A-list status, her career seemed steady and promising until it completely unraveled in one of the most disturbing Hollywood falls from grace. Instead of landing bigger roles, Mack took a sharp turn into the dark underworld of Neeson, a so-called self-help organization that was later exposed as a manipulative cult. Not only was she a high-ranking member, she was accused of recruiting and controlling women in a secret cult focused on manipulation and exploitation hidden within the group. The details were genuinely horrifying: branding, starvation, forced labor, and total psychological control. After being arrested and charged with sex trafficking and conspiracy, Mack pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. She was released in 2023 after serving a reduced sentence for cooperating with the investigation. Now, here's a question for you. Do you think someone with this kind of past should ever be welcomed back into Hollywood? Or is her time in the spotlight officially over? Blake Jenner. You might remember him from Glee or The Edge of 17, both solid projects that made him look like a next-gen leading man. But everything shifted in 2019 when his ex-wife, actress Melissa Benoist, accused him of domestic abuse. He later admitted to the allegations in a public statement, though he also pointed the finger back at Benoist, claiming it was mutual. After that, his career flatlined. He's only managed to appear in one low-budget movie and a TV film no one really watched. Even worse, he was supposed to star in Richard Linklater's ambitious 20-year movie project, Merrily We Roll Along, but was quietly replaced by Paul Mescal after Jenner was arrested for a DUI in 2023. Do you think Blake Jenner's situation is forgivable with time, or is this another career that's better left in the rear view? 8. Paula Dean. In 2013, Paula Dean's career was hit with an incredibly massive blow that would forever change her public image. It all began with a lawsuit that unearthed some shocking revelations during a legal deposition. Dean admitted to using racial slurs on multiple occasions in the past. To make matters even worse, she also revealed that she once considered having a plantation-themed wedding, an idea that many found not only offensive, but downright disturbing. The backlash was swift, and it was nothing short of brutal. Dean found herself under intense scrutiny. It wasn't just about her past actions anymore. Her entire brand was now being questioned. As the controversy intensified, Dean appeared on The Today Show to address the growing storm. But instead of taking full responsibility for her actions, she painted herself as the victim, claiming she had been unfairly judged. Her attempt to smooth things over only made matters worse, as viewers were quick to call out her lack of sincerity. The fallout from her words was swift and unforgiving. Major companies, including Walmart and the Food Network, quickly severed ties with Dean. Brands that had supported her for years distanced themselves, and the damage to her reputation was profound. Jimmy the Greek. Jimmy the Greek, a prominent sports commentator for CBS, was known for his colorful takes on football, often mixing analysis with bold opinions. He had built a reputation as an outspoken figure in the sports world, but a single interview in 1988 shattered his career. The incident occurred when a reporter asked him about Martin Luther King Jr. Day and the progress of African Americans in society. What should have been a thoughtful discussion took a disturbing turn. Initially, he spoke about fairness, but then he made comments that would prove disastrous. He suggested that if more black people were to become coaches, there would be nothing left for white people in football. He also made the baffling claim that since nearly all the players were black, the only remaining jobs for white people were in coaching positions. These remarks spread like wildfire, sparking outrage from all corners. Viewers flooded CBS with complaints, demanding accountability for such inappropriate and insensitive comments. Faced with an outpouring of backlash, the network had no choice but to act. Within days, they fired Jimmy the Greek, ending his career in broadcasting. Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers' career skyrocketed thanks to Johnny Carson, who not only made her a regular on The Tonight Show, but also often had her fill in as guest host. She credited Carson with launching her career, and she remained fiercely loyal to him for years. But in the 1980s, everything took a dramatic turn when she discovered she wasn't even being considered as Carson's potential successor, despite her years of hard work and dedication. Feeling both overlooked and underappreciated, Rivers made a bold move and accepted an offer from Fox to host her own late-night show. This decision did not sit well with Carson, and when he found out, he severed all ties with her, effectively banning her from The Tonight Show. Rivers believed Carson viewed her not as a colleague but as his property, especially since she was a woman, and simply couldn't stomach the idea of her competing against him. This rift was so deep that she never spoke to Carson again, and even when Jay Leno took over as host, the ban remained firmly in place. Gary Buucy. Gary Buucy created absolute chaos on The Howard Stern Show with his wildly erratic behavior. When he arrived, he startled everyone by unexpectedly grabbing co-host Robin Quivers in an enormous bear hug, leaving the entire studio momentarily speechless. But that was just the beginning. Buucy's next move? He set his sights on Howard Stern himself, chasing him around the studio and attempting to wrestle him to the ground. His outrageous antics were equal parts hilarious and unsettling, leaving everyone unsure whether they were witnessing comedy gold or a full-on meltdown. Buucy later explained that his bizarre actions were the result of one of his many personality aspects, specifically the one he called Pesky the Excitable Boy. But the damage was done. His unpredictable behavior led to him being banned from the show for years. Despite this, in 2017, he made a return for a satellite radio-only interview, marking an unexpected comeback. Still, his 2001 appearance remains one of the most notorious moments in Howard Stern Show history. Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg, best known for his quick-witted performances in Zombieland and Now You See Me, was once a fan favorite. His sharp humor and unique delivery earned him accolades, including nominations for prestigious awards like the Academy Award and Golden Globe. But while he was adored on-screen, things weren't as rosy off-screen, where he developed a reputation for being, well, not exactly the warmest guy in Hollywood. His public image took a serious hit after a particularly cringe-worthy interview with Roma Puga, which quickly became infamous. What was supposed to be a light-hearted conversation turned into an uncomfortable spectacle. Eisenberg couldn't resist making sarcastic comments about Puga's interview style. He mocked her for taking notes on her hand, and, in a stunningly dismissive moment, quipped, "Hey, you're on my time," when she jokingly asked him to speed up. This exchange, which should have been nothing more than a normal press interaction, left the reporter feeling humiliated and uncomfortable. She later expressed how the entire experience made her wish she had never agreed to the interview. But once the footage of this awkward encounter made its rounds online, Eisenberg's reputation began to crumble. The public started questioning whether the real Jesse Eisenberg was someone they could root for. His career never quite recovered from that moment, and audiences found it harder to support a star who seemed to have so little respect for those around him. Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson's career was hit by one of the most infamous controversies in live TV history, a moment that many still remember as the wardrobe malfunction at Super Bowl 38. During the halftime performance, Justin Timberlake ripped away part of Jackson's costume, revealing her breast to millions of viewers. While this was clearly not Jackson's doing, the fallout fell squarely on her shoulders. The media and public backlash was brutal, and her career took an enormous hit. In the aftermath, Hollywood essentially erased her from the spotlight, and her album and singles were blacklisted from radio. Even major corporations jumped on the bandwagon of disapproval. The FCC received a staggering 500,000 complaints about the broadcast. CBS was slapped with a hefty $50,000 fine, and the NFL was pressured to refund $10 million to their halftime show sponsor. It seemed like the world was eager to punish her, even though she wasn't the one who caused the incident. Though the storm was intense, Janet's resilience eventually shone through. In 2019, she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where she was honored as a true pioneer and an icon. Janet Jackson proved that even the most brutal controversies can't erase a legacy. Steve Harvey. For a time, Steve Harvey became the biggest laughingstock in America. His moment of infamy, the Miss Universe 2015 pageant, where he accidentally crowned the wrong winner. In a jaw-dropping blunder, Harvey named Miss Columbia as the winner, when in fact, she was only the first runner-up. The real winner, Miss Philippines, stood there in stunned silence as the mix-up was slowly realized. The crowd erupted in confusion, and Harvey awkwardly walked back on stage to correct the error. The incident was a gift to social media, which erupted with mockery. Memes flooded the internet, and for a moment, it seemed like Harvey's career was in free fall. But instead of hiding from the blunder, Harvey faced the storm head-on. His reputation took a hit, sure, but he bounced back, proving that the comedy king could laugh at himself here too. Today, he's still one of the busiest and most beloved TV hosts, showing that even the biggest public missteps can lead to a solid comeback. Steve Harvey wasn't the only one with an embarrassing live TV moment. A few years earlier, Kathie Lee Gifford had one too, and hers was even more emotional. Kathie Lee Gifford. In 2012, Kathie Lee Gifford found herself in an incredibly awkward moment on live television, one that didn't exactly ruin her career, but definitely left a major stain on her reputation. Gifford was interviewing comedian Martin Short about his role in Madagascar 3 when she made a painful blunder. In the middle of their conversation, she praised Short's long marriage to Nancy Dolman, unaware that Dolman had tragically passed away from cancer 2 years earlier. Gifford asking him how long they had been married. Short, who was visibly uncomfortable, didn't immediately correct her. Instead, he tried to steer the conversation, but it was clear the topic was causing him immense pain. Later, during the commercial break, Short quietly informed Gifford of Dolman's death and publicly forgave her for the slip-up. Though Gifford's mistake didn't end her career, it was a moment of intense public embarrassment. While Short handled it with kindness and maturity, the incident tarnished Gifford's image and left many viewers cringing at the awkwardness. And that's a wrap on some of the most jaw-dropping celebrity career crashes ever caught on camera. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.